Welcome to the Art of Authority podcast, bringing you interviews and episodes to help you radically optimize your authority and influence to become the go-to expert in your field. Here's your host, authority positioning coach, Mike Saunders.
Well, hello, welcome back. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach, and today we have with us Bob Burg, and of course, he needs no introduction, but I just wanted to welcome you, Bob. Thank you for taking your time to be on our summit today.
Oh, thank you. I love the work you do. Thanks for all the value you provide.
Thanks so much. And today I want to jump right in and talk about your brand new book, The Go-Giver Influencer. And if anyone watching this is not a fan of yours from the Go-Giver series, whether it's Go-Giver, Go-Giver Sell More, Go-Giver Leader, all of those ones that you co-wrote with John David Mann, go out and pick those up. But this is a brand new one focused on influence. So what was it that made you think that would be the next best topic in your series?
Well, it's interesting, Mike, because within all the books in the series, influence comes into play.
Yeah.
And, when you think about it, influence really is everything in terms of business and in terms of life. I mean, you can have all the top character traits and skills and all these, you can be a person who's got a lot of talent and a very high character. You can be ambitious and kind and charitable and hardworking and thrifty and energetic and have a good business sense and be calm and be creative and all that. Oh, that's great. It's terrific. However, unless you can influence others, move people to the desired and appropriate action, your chances of achieving that really magnificent level of success is somewhat limited.
Yeah, and I think that phrase influence, a lot of times people misconstrue it, and they think that it's, I want this, I must make you do that, so here I go to influence them, and it becomes a strong arm kind of a tactic. So what did you find in your researching for that book where you got to approach developing influence in the correct way?
Well, you make a great point, and unfortunately, it's too good a point at this time because we're seeing such battles right now between people philosophically, politically, and in other ways in which it really is a matter of, hey, if you're not with us, you're a nasty person, it's not a matter of ideas being challenged. It's a matter of people really being called out for, you know what I'm saying? And it's not, let's put it this way, and Mike, you're one of the best influencers I know. And on social media, if you see somebody write something on Facebook or a tweet that says to somebody, you are the worst excuse for a human being. You're trying to ruin our country, blah, blah, blah. You don't care, blah, blah. Have you ever noticed the person responding to that by writing back, you're right. I hadn't thought about it that way. I renounce all my ideas.
You got me.
Right. Of course not. So influence on a very basic level can be defined simply as the ability to move a person or persons to a desired action, usually within the context of a specific goal. Now, that's the definition of influence, but I don't believe it's the substance or the essence of influence. I believe the essence of influence, Mike, is pull. As opposed to push. Right? Or as we like to say, how far can you push a rope? And the answer is at least not very fast or very effectively.
Efficiently,
right, efficiently, exactly, which is why great influencers do. Have you noticed you never hear someone say, hey, that Mary or that Steve, he is so influential. He has a lot of push with people. He sure is pushy, man. We will just let you know. No.
It's kind of like your whole go-giver, it's the antithesis of he's a real go-getter. Well, you're a go-giver. So kind of what you're saying there is that push-pull. And people I always attribute this phrase to Jeffrey Gitomer. It's the first time I heard this, but I'm sure it was many people saying it. But people like to buy, but they don't like to be sold. And so to your point with the push and the pull, well, we don't want to push people. We want to pull them to our way of thinking, but our way of thinking, and this needs to be mutually beneficial, or else they feel pushed.
Right. So how does an influencer attract someone first to themselves and then to their ideas, because that's really how it works, right?
Yeah.
You attract someone to yourself, then, only then, to your idea. And we need to do this through earning people's commitment, not trying for compliance, which is pushing, which is manipulation, which is ordering someone, which is positional, because that only, at best, it's unsustainable. At worst, the other person's going to sabotage the process totally. So how do we do this? Well, the great influencer, Mike, asks themselves questions, right? That is questions such as, how does what I am asking this other person to do, how does what I want this person to do, how does it align with their goals, with their wants, with their needs, with their desires? How does what I'm asking this other human being to do, how does it align with their values? You know, when I speak at a sales conference, let's say, I'll often start out by saying to the audience, you know, and I do it jokingly, not in a way that's dogmatic or talking at them, I hope, but I'll say, you know, nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. Yep. Right. And we all laugh because we know that's true. No one's buying from us because we have a quota to meet, or because we need the money, or even because we're a really nice person who believes in what we do. They're going to buy from us because they believe that they will be better off by doing so than by not doing so. Or as Dale Carnegie famously said in his classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People, ultimately, people do things for their reasons, not our reasons.
Well, you know what that question presupposes is that you, as the influencer, know what the other party values. And I think the problem with that is so many of us, we fall prey to this trap. We just assume we know what they want because they want our stuff, and we don't know their values, and we kind of assume their values, and we try to, you know, guide this direction or that direction. But in reality, boy, if you just found out, asked, whatever that it is, and maybe it's that questioning process. So how important is, you know, a little bit, not 19 questions, you know, not, you know, pelting them with your, you know, back and forth, but I feel like that's a really important piece of that, to know how to guide that conversation, because you're not going to say, I need to influence you, let me ask you these questions, but you must know those in order to then be of value to someone, right?
Yeah, and this is why it's so important to understand what we call the clash of belief systems. And that's simply the understanding that we all come at the world from our own individual model, paradigm, if you will, our own individual way of seeing things. And we believe that our belief system is a combination of upbringing, environment, schooling, news media, television shows, movies, popular culture, cultural mores, everything you touch, see, taste, hear, smell, you know, all that. But our belief systems are pretty much set in stone by the time we're little more than toddlers. And from that point on, everything that comes into this belief system just adds on to what we already see the world as being. And we're not even aware of this. So most people go through their lives, Mike, with a
bias.
Well, definitely with a bias, yes. And this bias is unconscious, and that's what I call an unconscious operating system.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
And but what we think is, to add on to that, we think that everyone else sees the world the way we see it, which makes sense, because what else do we know, right? Well, this other person also feels that same way. They think the way they see the world is the truth, is the way the world is, and they assume we. So what happens is, when a salesperson goes into a presentation, they believe that and again, it's natural, that what they feel is of value about the product or service is naturally what the other person must feel. Yeah. But we've got to understand that value is always in the eyes of the beholder. And we can only grasp that by asking the right questions and then listening not to confirm our biases, as you were just talking, right?
Yep.
But to discover, but to learn what this person sees of value, and then, only then, connect the benefit of our product or service with what that person needs, wants.
Because then it's easy. Because you know what they need. Yeah. You know, isn't it kind of like when you think about some big idea, let's say someone wants to start their own business and you want to get someone's opinion. And so you go to your handful of people that you kind of consciously or subconsciously know they're going to just pat me on the back, and they're going to, you know, just agree and nod their head. Well, you might need to go to those people, sure, but you might also need to go to the people that you know are going to bring up some tough points. So the same points that you're making right there. So what is one maybe a implementable tactic or idea, like as a question, that you can make sure that we're understanding with our target audience, so that we're trying to move toward delivering that value? And it's not a magic bullet, but it's something we need to keep in mind.
Well, one is just confirming after you've done the discovery and you've asked the right questions and you've elicited the responses, and you've made sure to, drill deep where you need to make sure you understand. It's then in that second part, before you move on to the presentation aspect, confirming that what you have heard is what they meant.
Yeah.
Okay. And if we haven't, they're going to appreciate the fact that we asked, and they're going to explain.
Yeah.
And that's fine. It shows you were listening. And if you did get it, then you also, before you go on, I would say, is there anything else perhaps that I did not cover, or something I did not ask that you would like me to know? And by this time, because you've asked the right questions and you've done so in a way that communicates that your desire is to provide value to them, they're much more likely to open up to you.
Isn't it true? And I've heard 1,000 examples of this, and I'm sure you have 2,000 more, but it's kind of like the person that says, "Oh, that price is kind of high." And you're like, "Well, I can lower it." Well, maybe if you clarified, well, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? High compared to what? And maybe that person just goes, "Because I love knowing that I paid a high price, because that means high quality." And then you could say, "You're exactly right. Let me tell you about the quality of our service, product, whatever it is." But I think that we tend to jump to conclusions. So we need to do that L word, that listen, when you are clarifying, because they might be clarifying something and you listen and you jump to a quick conclusion.
Sure. And a lot of times too, when you get the prices too high, it's often, that's not actually their objection as much as that is just the manifestation of a deeper objection.
Yeah.
And so we need to make sure that we're not providing the perfect rehearsed answer to the wrong question or to the wrong objection.
And don't you think that if you, and I use the word react rather than respond, but it doesn't need to be a snippy, caustic reaction. It could just be a going down a different path too soon. But when you do that, doesn't that really paint the picture of like chipping down on that authority and expertise, where an influence, where that person is kind of like, you know what, if that person really was, a good example is when we watch Shark Tank and they kind of come back with the counter offer and they're like, would you take whatever for 15%? And the shark says no. And what if that shark said, okay, I'll do it for that 0.2% or whatever that low number is? Then maybe that person would be thinking, man, are they really all that? So I think that does tie into bolstering our influence, authority, expertise, and all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the fact is we don't know what that other person's thinking. And so we need to make sure to find out, to ask. And what we've been talking about, a lot of this with influence as it relates to sales is listening. We've spent a lot of time talking about listening, and that's important.
Yep.
And it's not a matter of just listening. It's a matter of really listening with your whole being. In the Go-Giver Influencer, we call it listening with the back of your neck. It means that rather than just kind of listening on the surface, listening so that you can respond with the right there, or listening, you're really placing your being. You're putting your whole being into trying to understand where exactly this person's coming from. Understanding that as human beings, we don't know until we know. And that's just so important.
In the book, Jillian and Jackson have their own agendas, and each has a motivation too. And so the thought that I was thinking as I was reading through that is they both had really some pressure, because on one side, the corporate pressure was get us something that'll make us stand out in our product line. And then on the small business pressure was, I need more sales. I need to align with distribution. So when you are an entrepreneur, coach, speaker, business owner, whatever, it doesn't matter. But when you need to see action and see results, do you find, or what do you recommend when someone feels like, but I need it now? And I see this thing because we all want to fix a problem or get that solution quickly. So how do you find that people need to kind of be reserved and go methodical in developing that influence without scaring people away? Because it's kind of like you go down to the park and you feed the ducks and you sprint off to them, they run away.
Right. Well, it's a matter of understanding that, again, it always goes back to they're not going to buy or take the action you want because you want them to. They're going to do it because they believe it's in their best interest to do so. And when you think about it, that makes sense. There's no other reason for them to, they're not going to buy in December so that you can close out the year at a certain amount because you want to get that trip to whatever. Should they? So you've got to be able to bring them, you've got to be able to give them a reason for doing that. And there's no reason that has to be slow and take a long time. It's just that you've got to be able to cut through and get to the actual point, the actual benefit to them to doing the thing that you're wanting to do.
I've heard it said that the person that asks the questions is kind of in control of that situation. But I feel that people that are in sales or an entrepreneur that needs to grow their business, they feel like I need that revenue. So it's so hard to ask the questions or to feel like, they don't want to, they feel like they want to say it all, because I know everything about everything and I know what you need this and here's whatever.
Right.
What do you recommend with the thought in mind of cultivating and maintaining that influence? Because if you've done it the right way and people have been referred to you and they've looked a little bit about you online on your website, your marketing materials, they see that air of trust because as we know, all things being equal, people want to do business with those they know, like, and trust. Mm-hmm. Well, how do you advise that you can keep that restraint in so that you can continue that relationship with asking the right questions, but not too many? Because, at some point it's like, just get to the deal. I asked you this one question. So where are you in that pacing? How does that play into cultivating influence and authority?
Sure. And it goes back to the basic question. Yeah, all this focusing on the other person's fine and doing the right thing and, it's fine when I don't need to make the money now, but I need the money now. So what do I do? Yeah. So we've got to understand something. And again, and this was probably getting obnoxious at this point, I'm going to go back to the idea that they're not going to do business with you. They're not going to buy because you need them to buy right now. They're going to do it because they feel that they're better off. So what's the best? So the question to ask yourself is, what's the best way for that to happen? Is it by going in there? Let's take an example. You're the prospect. I'm the presenter. Okay. I'm the salesperson. Man, I need the money now. Right, Mike? So I go in there and you can tell through my essence, through my aura, that my goal is a transfer of money from your pocket to mine. Okay. I ask questions, but they're designed to get you to say things that are going to let me kind of sharp angle back. And I'm listening, but I'm not really listening. Sometimes I'm even interrupting. And because we got to get that thing happen and we need you to do this now. Are you more likely or less likely to feel good about me, to know me, like me, trust me? And the answer is probably no. But now I go in there. Now I still need the money. Now I still, and the things are as they are. Only this time what I'm going to do is, it's not that I'm going to forego that or forego my self-interest, but I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to temporarily suspend it. And I'm going to put my focus absolutely on you and what you need. And as I'm doing the presenting, I'm asking those questions, the questions that matter. I'm listening, and I'm listening with the back of my neck to understand everything that you're saying. And again, once I do that, now I'm in a position where I do know what you need, because I'm not thinking about me, I'm thinking about you. And I'm able to present in such a way, well, are you more likely or less likely to do business with me now?
Yeah.
So we've got to understand that when we say, well, I need it to happen now, that's not going to cause that person to do business with you now.
And if you've done things the right way and you've had those interactions consistently enough, then the person you met with a month and a half ago, they might be ready now. And the person you're meeting with today, you can get, in other words, you can get the feeling of right now by doing it consistently, because it's going to be that tiered, a rollout effect almost. But the minute that you start being pushy, you don't have any chance at all.
No, you've broken rapport. And and remember, some products and services, they are one call situations, and that's fine. When we're not in any way saying that it's not, that you should delay having the sale take place. No, we're just saying that the reason it's going to happen is because they decide to do it. They see a benefit to them.
Yeah. They sense that care. Let's kind of go a little bit deeper and shift gears over into what we've been talking about, which is the interaction. Well, in some cases, what has happened before that was you earned a referral. And what I would say is there's two ends of this spectrum. With if you have done the right thing by someone, even if there wasn't a sale taking place, even if it was a strategic alliance or a colleague, you can earn that referral because you have that authority, expertise, influence, trust. You can call it whatever you want, but the fact is someone trusts you enough to go, you know what? You need to talk to Bob. He's got something I think you would be interested in hearing about. So let's think about how we can develop the correct approach to influence, which we've talked about: caring, asking questions, understanding, listening. How does that then impact and maybe leverage into earning the best referrals?
Sure, because referrals have a number of benefits. I mean, you speak on this topic, so you teach that. But really, I think the main one, there are probably many more benefits, but basically, it's easier to set the appointment. Obviously, with a referred prospect, you're going in on borrowed influence. Price tends to be less of an issue, which doesn't mean it's a non-issue, but it's less of an issue. That this way you can sell on high value rather than low price. We know when you sell on low price, you're a commodity. When you sell on high value, you're a resource. The third benefit is that with a referred prospect, it's easier to complete the transaction and to complete it quicker. Why? Because you've gone in on borrowed trust, or what we call vicarious experience. In other words, as you mentioned, this person hasn't done business with you, who you're talking to now, but someone who they know, like, and trust has either done business with you directly and said, this person's going to take care of you, this person's looking out for you, this person's going to make sure you, or they know you well enough and that they can provide that. And then the fourth benefit is that with the referred prospects, they're already of the mindset that that's how you do business. That's how they met you. So in their world, you meet new prospects through referral. You sell on high value rather than low price. You complete the transaction and you receive additional referrals
because you've set the stage.
You've set the stage. You've really set that premise. You've done a great job of doing that, and that's important. So let's say you're talking to, Anne. And let's say Anne is a customer of yours. Anne's a happy customer of yours. But as you say, as long as she knows, likes, and trusts you, even if she's not a customer, she could still refer you. But we'll just say in this case, she is. And you might say to Anne, and this is what I call the referral bridge. This is a way of very comfortably bridging into asking for a referral to get their buy-in in a way that they feel comfortable and you feel comfortable. And it sounds something like this. Of course, everyone will say it differently based on their style, based on the situation, based on the relationship. But the principle is this. And I'm in the process of expanding my referral business, and I find it's helpful to partner with my clients and friends such as you. Can we take a few quick minutes and run past the names of some other people I might also be able to help? Okay. Now, the reason we say it like this, and let's break it down a little bit, is, and I'm in the process of expanding my referral business. Okay, so with posture, with polite, humble posture, you've let her know what you're looking to now do. Okay, I'm in the process of expanding my referral business, and I find it helpful. Okay, I'm not desperate for it, but it's helpful to partner, which is a key word because you're giving this person buy-in into being part of your success. Partner with my clients and friends such as you. Can we take a few quick minutes and run past the names? This is what I call fast language. You're not saying it fast, but the words you're using are implying correctly that you're not going to take up a lot of her time. Listen to these fast words or quick words. Can we take a few quick minutes and run past? And then the names of some other people I might also be able to help. The word might is very, very key right here.
Yeah.
because here we're giving her the back door or the out. We're letting her know that she never has to worry about referring someone to us and being made to look bad because we're going to come on too strong or pushy with someone who's not interested. So we always want to imply or give the back door or the out so people feel comfortable. Okay, that's a frame that we utilize that just makes everyone feel good and makes everyone feel safe. Now, when you've asked her this, the referral bridge, and I'm in the process of expanding my referral business, and I find it's helpful to partner with my friends and clients or clients and friends such as you. Can we take a few quick minutes and run past the names of some other people I might also be able to help? Now, she might say, well, I don't know if I know anyone. Now, at this point, you listen to her and you don't interrupt, of course, and you simply say, oh, that's okay. I'm going to give you a couple of really easy hints to help you come up with some and visualize some people. And if you do, great. If not, that's okay. We can always do it another time. Again, the out or the back door. Okay. But so now what you're going to do is, and let's either assume that she would know the kind of client you're looking for because you've educated her about that, or you let her know that a good person to keep in mind is someone who is, between the age of so-and-so.
Or maybe just like you because we did business.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're letting her know who, but now here's what you're going to do. See, the biggest mistake most people, and I certainly did this when I first started in sales and was asking for referrals, is to say, who do you know who, or do you know anyone who? And that's what usually elicits that person thinking really hard, but then finally saying, well, I can't think of anybody right now, but when I do, I'll call you or let you know. And as I always ask my audiences, do they ever call you or let you know? And we all laugh because, every so often, sure, but that's not how we want to build a career. Tom Hopkins explained this beautifully in his classic, How to Master the Art of Selling, which I first read when I got into sales almost 40 years ago. And he explained that, most of us, we know a lot of people. We know about 250 people. Joe Girard first said that. And he said, and so Tom explained that when you ask someone, do you know anyone who, or even who do you know, a collage of 250 nameless, faceless people dance past their brain. They can't come up with anyone. So it's not really like, right. And so instead, as Tom suggests, funnel down their world into small groups of people they can easily see. See, what we're going to do, Mike, is we're going to help them be victorious. We're going to create a frame of success for them instead of failure. So we know Ann is a very avid golfer, right? And so we say, Ann, I know you golf every Sunday. You were telling me. She goes, oh, every Sunday afternoon I'm out there. Do you play with different people or pretty much the same? Oh, same foursome for years. Myself, Harriet Brown, Michael Cloud, Dr. Mary Ruart, the four of us have been golfing buddies for years. Boom. She's just visualized. She's pictured three people. Yeah. Now we can ask, would Harriet or Michael or Dr. Mary, would any of those three? Now, it might be one of them, two of them, all of them, none of them. But that's okay. She's very comfortable now because we've helped her see she can do this. Okay. So now we know she's a member of her local NABO, National Association of Women Business Owners chapter. They meet every month. We don't say, is there anyone in your local NABO chapter? Because it could be too big a chapter. Yeah. But we would say, is there anyone in your chapter and who you sit next to every time or you're particularly good friends with, serve on a committee with? Well,
find that you go out to coffee with outside of the meetings.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we're doing this. And now, maybe one more frame is we know she is on the board of directors of her local, Office Products Association or Humane Society nonprofit, whatever it happens to be. And we ask who she serves on the board with. Well, there's 3 or 4 other people. Which of those, if any, do you feel might be? Yeah. Boom. And so once she comes up with one name, well, now all of a sudden the pressure's off and she feels good about it. And one name reminds her of someone else. And again, depending upon what we do, we can always run that alphabet list. Who is her A, accountant or automobile dealer, or B, banker, C, chiropractor, what have you. But this is really what we do so that we can open up the world for referrals and create the opportunity for her to feel very good about doing it.
I wonder if when you do that, and you don't need to go through the whole alphabet like you just said, and you don't need to go through 19 frames, but those are wonderful examples.
Sometimes it's more appropriate to do one or two.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
But
so again, it depends on the situation.
I agree 1,000%. And it's, I was thinking of this right when you were saying this, priming the pump and the reticular activator system in your brain. Once someone has become aware of something, hey, I bought a new car and it's a blue Honda, whatever, and you start noticing those on the road. In fact, we had some hail damage here a few months ago. We got our van back, but in the meantime, we had a rental car, and my son, who's 13, he started noticing all of those vehicles on the road after we turned it in. And I tell him, I said, that's your brain reminding you of what we have experienced. So now when you've taken someone through that referral frame, those frames, don't you agree, or do you agree that even after the fact, 2-3 weeks later, that person might be going, oh, you know what? I need to talk to Bob because, I got a new golfing buddy in our foursome because, Betty couldn't have made it. Do you find that kind of has a little bit of residual effect because you did it the right way?
It does, but there's also something a little more. I believe we need to continue to keep in touch with that person in a way that always keeps us in front of them, in a way that is very comfortable for them, in a way that's value added for them. Plus, when we do receive a referral from them, we should always write a handwritten, not a text, not an email, handwritten, personalized thank you note.
Whether you close the business or not.
Exactly.
Because that rewards the action, the initial action.
Behavior that gets rewarded, gets repeated. So absolutely.
So let's think about let's tie in, tactics. So asking those questions in that frame, excellent. When a referral happens, send that handwritten thank you note as a thank you, but as a momentum builder. But let's tie in an authority, influence, expertise, aspect layer right there. What if you sent a thank you note on an old scratch piece of paper and it was a number 10 envelope and it was just kind of, I don't know. Don't you agree that now that branding, that persona, that vibe has to come, because now all of these things have to be congruent. So they heard about you and were referred to you and you did some business. Now you took them through that referral frames. Now you're thanking them. If you send them something that makes them go, really? This? Okay. But if you send them something on maybe professional letterhead or something with your picture and logo and it's a handwritten note, now all of a sudden they go, that's a nice touch.
Yeah. So here's what I do. I actually have a personalized handwritten thank you note. It's 70 pound to 90 pound cardstock. So it has some texture to it. It's not sent as a postcard, but it's sent as in an envelope. And you have your name, contact information, you have your benefit statement, you have your picture, very important because people do think in pictures. We process information different ways, but we think in pictures. And what you want to write is a simple little note in blue ink that just says, whether it's thank you so much for your kind referral to Dave Smith. You can, and this is Tom Hopkins' language here, you can be assured anyone you refer to me will be treated with the utmost professionalism. Or you can say, whatever you want to write but a nice little touch to do that is, like you said, you're keeping it classy.
And something right at this point that I would like to just kind of put a pin in, which is when you're thinking about being that go-giver and giving value, and when you're doing the referral frame conversation, and when you do the handwritten thank you note, we cannot expect for immediate results right away after each one of those steps. So you just do these things because it's the right thing to do. You treat people right with value because it's the right thing to do. You earn referrals because it's the right thing to do. You send the thank you note. You're not waiting for, it's been 2 days. Where's my whatever that it is? You just do it because guess what? Yes, it's the right thing to do, but do you think that your colleagues and competitors do any of those? And that's where I would like to even say, so many times people don't return emails timely, voicemails. They certainly aren't taking the time to send a personalized thank you note that isn't P.S. Send me more referrals. It's just a thank you. Thank you so much for referring, John. I'll do a great job and I'll keep you posted of our progress, but thank you so much for your trust in me. Have a wonderful day. I think that's a big thing to keep in mind. We do it because it's the right thing to do, and we're not doing it for immediate expected return.
Right. Yeah. You do it without that sense of attachment.
Yeah.
Right. That it has to happen, or it has to happen in your time frame.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it won't. Okay. Because when you're doing the right thing for the right reasons, that's when it does happen. So when you're doing it consistently, when you're taking the right action and taking the right action consistently, that's when the magic happens.
So let's kind of think about what winding down here on our talk, because we could go about another 4.5 hours. But in the book, what were some of the key lessons and takeaways that our characters learned? Because they had some little hiccups and speed bumps. They didn't just go, we need to do this deal, let's do it the right way. They had some issues. So what were a couple of the key takeaways that they learned and then we can take away and implement in our personal and business lives?
Sure. And we've actually discussed a few of them within this conversation.
Look at how cool that is. Yeah.
One of them was, and the first one was really master your emotions. So important. That's where it all begins. The sages asked, who is the mighty person? And answered, that person who can control their emotions and make of an enemy or of a potential enemy a friend. That's where
adversaries into allies.
Yeah, exactly. Only when you're in control of yourself, right, that you're even in a position to be able to take a potentially negative situation or person and turn it into a win for everyone involved.
Yeah.
We all know that, right? And yet how
hard
often
to
do we
do.
allow our buttons to be pushed because of what someone says or does, and we become frustrated or we feel hopeless or we get angry, right? And so we really need to, retrain our brain if that's an issue with us. And it is with a lot of people. It was with me at one time. I had to work very diligently at turning that around. And now, by the way, this is not to say that we're saying lose your emotions or forego your emotions. Of course not. Emotions are a wonderful part of life. They bring us joy. Keep your emotions, but make sure you are in control of your emotions as opposed to they being in control of you. Or as one of my dear friends, Dondi Scumaci, says, and we put this in the book, but we didn't credit Dondi in the book because we made it part of the story, but it's Dondi's. And it's where she said, by all means, take your emotions along for the ride, but make sure you are driving the car.
Yeah.
And that's the key.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, we're not saying lose your emotion. No, keep your emotions. In fact, your emotions do. Well, we know, we all know this, that we make emotion-based decisions and we back up those decisions with logic. We rationalize, right? Which simply means we tell ourselves rational lies. And
that's I've never heard that before. Rationalize because we tell ourselves rational lies.
Right. But the thing is, our emotions are going to come into decisions. And a really good way to put it, I think, is that think of your emotions as your board of directors. Your logic is the CEO. Get the input from the board of directors, but it's the CEO, your logic, that needs to make the decision.
Emotions, huge. You can jump to conclusions. You can get upset. And isn't it true that it's I heard this just yesterday, but many times over and over, fear is the false expectations that appear real, but many times, most of the time, they're not. So you can let your emotions get out of whack, and now all of a sudden you're experiencing fear, but it really didn't matter. And you could have disrupted a negotiation or a relationship because of how you mistook something. That's a big piece. Yeah. Good. What's another takeaway? Of course, we can talk about 15 takeaways, but what's one more from the book, and then we'll encourage people to definitely buy the book.
Well, communicating with tact and empathy is always so very important. I mean, we're always dealing with egos. We're dealing with people's egos. We're dealing with people's emotions. Right? And so we need to make sure that tact. My dad has always defined tact as the language of strength. And I so agree with that. And I think of tact as when you need to be able to correct someone or critique someone or, dare I say, constructively criticize someone. Not that we ever want to do any of these things, but we're talking about the real world. We're not talking about some fantasy world. And there are times we need to be able to do this. Tact is a way of doing so in such a way that rather than the person becoming defensive toward us and resistant to our idea, they become open to us and more accepting of considering our idea. And that's tact. Empathy. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and people can feel that too, because they can feel you could have just laid them out, but you didn't. And then they just almost like inch a little closer, and they feel a little closer to you because they feel that was handled in the right way.
Exactly.
And so empathy.
Well, empathy by definition is the identification of or vicarious experiencing of another person's feelings. And when we can do that and we can communicate, that's a fantastic thing, but we can't always know how another person feels. Remember, that goes back to belief systems. We may not be able to relate to what they're feeling, but we can. And I think empathy is really not so much communicating that you know how they feel, but understanding and communicating that you know they're feeling something.
Yeah.
And that this something is distressful to them, and that you are there as a friend or as a consultant or in order to help them work through it.
Yeah.
And they can sense that resonance, if you will,
yeah.
two human beings working together.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think that becomes now a slippery slope, because if you have any inkling on, what's the good word for it, of crafting or creating or being contrived in doing empathy for your own purpose, it's going to get exposed really quick. People can tell that you're just, flattery will get you nowhere, but
right.
They can tell that if you're not being empathetic, you're just saying it. You're like, oh, sorry about that. By the way, did you notice the features and benefits of my, whatever? So that's something where we need to be very careful in, showing that empathy, that it needs to come from the heart. And I think that's obvious, but I think that a lot of people can make that mistake.
Well, it's why authenticity, which is so often overused today, and so often talked about being overused, it is important.
Yeah.
Right. You got to come at it from a congruency.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, let's do this. I know that normally it's like, where can we buy your book? Pretty much wherever you buy books, go find the Go Giver Influencer, and as well as the others in the series. But if you want to learn and polish up and level up yourself personally and professionally in finding ways to cultivate and amplify what you already have, because nothing that we already talked about is creating something you're not. It's just amplifying something that you already are and doing it for the right reasons. Yeah. So I would just say, when we're talking about earning referrals and creating and amplifying the influence that you already have, learn through some of these techniques, do the listening and show empathy, and, find what the other person values. And those are so important. So I would encourage everyone, grab Bob's book, and I know that you'll be very, very pleased. So Bob, thank you so much for your time today. It's always a pleasure. And I really, I know you're busy, so I just really want to thank you for taking time to chat with us today.
My pleasure. Always love speaking with you, Mike. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you, Bob.
You've been listening to the Art of Authority podcast. Are you interested in building your authority positioning as the #1 strategy to grow your business, brand, and influence? Book your authority audit today. This 7-point audit of your current authority position will uncover opportunities and show you how to be seen as a leading expert and authority your industry looks to for advice. Visit www.authoritypositioningcoach.com.